Hello, and welcome back to our final installment for our April Wellness Month. My name is Shani,
My name's Amanda.
And I'm Kenise.
and we're so glad that you stuck with us throughout this journey of digging into different wellnesses and really taking care of yourself this for the month of April. So, for this final installment, we're going to be covering the topic of finances.
Nobody wants
So,
to talk about finance.
Yes.
forget
Boo.
these men. Let's get our
Boo.
coins up, ladies.
And money's so taboo to talk about too. So I feel like, it's an important part of our wellness.
Yeah, I actually think that finances are becoming more transparent. It's more
Yeah.
becoming more mainstream. People are being open with their, how much money they're making. Granted, I'm a little old school, right? I don't believe in that. I don't want to know how much people make, and I don't want people to know how much I make. But I feel like there are benefits for focusing and diving a little bit deeper and improving your financial status.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if any of you ladies feel, the same. Like, why is financial wellness so important? Why does this fit in the theme of the month?
So I think for me, a lot of the things we talked about, like getting a hobby or joining a gym, what do they cost? They cost money, right? Exactly. We talk about doing things that you love, pouring into yourself. That's kind of like what this entire podcast is about. But all of those things, it's not free. So I feel like money, we have to have like a healthy relationship with money in order to afford the lifestyle that we want. So I feel like it's
Yeah.
super important.
I love what you just said. Healthy relationship with money. I think that's like a key point to be made here. Like if people don't have a healthy relationship with money, it becomes very unhealthy. Like
Yeah.
many of the times I hear like the apps that people would get to track their budgets, they don't want it, they don't want to see what they're spending. Why do you
No.
guys think that's the case? Like why don't we want to see what we're spending? And then some people are just like overly engrossed with it. So like my sister is like super engrossed with her finances. Like she balances her checkbook. I don't think I've ever balanced
I
my
don't know
checkbook
how to
ever.
balance a
I
checkbook.
don't
Yeah,
think
like
I
my
have.
mom like balances her checkbook and she still uses a checkbook, to do her bills or whatever. And it's like to the T, every penny is accounted for. And I was like, why even waste your time? Like I know how much money's coming in, I know how much I have to spend, I know how much I have left over, and then I'm saving some. Like for me, I don't need to like check every single penny. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, I think it depends how you were raised, right? Like were you raised in a very strict household or
I
you're a
don't
more
even
liberal?
think that matters, Amanda,
Really?
Yeah, I
because
don't
my
think so
mom,
either.
my mom is very like type A with her finances. She's
Okay.
she's an accountant herself. So she's very like every penny, like I need to know what is moving and why, my monthly bill is like 5 cents off from like last month. She's like that. And she'll get on the phone and she'll talk to all these reps and I hear her and I'm like, oh my God, it's so embarrassing. But no, all kudos to her. But I'm like not the complete opposite. I don't want to make myself sound bad, but like I'm not. I feel like if I want to go out and enjoy a dinner with friends or I'm like wanting to book a trip, like I feel like these are things that I want to indulge in and I feel like there's no price tag on what's going to bring me happiness, which is typically food and traveling.
But
Both
you
are
can have a
expensive.
healthy relationship with money and still do that, like what
Yes,
Amanda
yes,
said.
absolutely. But I'm not someone, I mean, I do track my finances monthly, right? I feel like we should. Um, but I'm not like, very type A to the dollar, to the
Yeah.
dime, to the nickel, to the penny.
Neither am I. So Amanda, I guess, is the opposite of us.
I mean, I've been like putting things more like on a spreadsheet. I've always had my spreadsheet and I try to do it like once a year. Um, but then I think once you start seeing all the money you're spending, you're like, oh my God, did I really like eat out like that much? And like, did I really order that much food like for the month? I think there's something about seeing it in front of you, which is why people probably don't want to do it because guess what? You're calling yourself out. Then,
Yeah.
and at some point, you're probably like, oh, I need to like make a change in order to, to get better at managing your finances.
Yeah. So what are some things that you guys do right now in like your
Mhm.
day-to-day life to help keep yourself on track with maybe like your own financial goals?
Have some.
Good start, Amanda.
Some goals. Um, like get into the habit of saving for things. Like, so let's say a lot of people don't like to plan, and I know maybe I plan too much. But I think knowing what you spend and having goals in mind, like, oh, I want to go to Italy next year. All right, let me do my research. How much is that going to cost me? It's going to cost the way we want to do it. Let's say it's going to cost $5,000 with hotel and all that stuff. Great. Now go into your finances, see what you're spending, see where you can cut back on, because you want to be able to, when you go on that trip, you don't want to be like, when you come back, you're like, oh my God, now I have to pay for this. And I'm going to be spending the next like year paying for it. You don't want that to happen. So like have some
Right.
goals for yourself.
Right. I think for me, I use cash for everything. Cash helps me manage. So I have like two credit cards. I have a credit card from 1997. It was my first credit card after I graduated high school. It's a Discover card. So how long has that been? I've been with Discover. And then I have a like a Sapphire. Chase Sapphire cards. So I've never been like I used to have a ton of retail cards,
Mhm.
Bloomingdale, Saks, Macy's, like I had all of those, and growing up, like having a job at a very young age, used to spend all my money on clothes. But then I would just be like, oh yeah, I don't need to spend cash. Here's the card, here's the card. And I did rack up a whole bunch of like materialistic debt. Like it was so bad. And then I paid them all off after I like graduated. I was like, no, no more, none of these. So I don't have retail cards because there's such high interest.
Yeah.
And I've learned like if you can't afford it, to like if you're not able, it's okay to have these cards because you get like points and all of
Yeah.
that stuff, which is great. But then if you're not able to pay it off when the bill comes, like don't for me, I don't even use the card. So I use cash. And cash helps me to better manage myself. So I believe like I pay only cash for almost everything I
Oh
pay
wow.
cash for. So I try not to use my credit card, and that helps me, Shawnee, to balance like myself financially.
Denise, that's so funny. My first credit card when I graduated high school was Discover. I'm still with Discover.
That is so funny.
Is that like the starter credit card
It
for when
probably
you,
is. It probably is.
I don't know, I remember my mom signing me up like in
My
like a
mom signed me up too.
like a joint something, I guess to help build my credit. That's so funny you said that. I'm like, whoa, yeah, I do have a Discover card that I don't even use
I
anymore.
mean, my goal is to have an Amex Black. So once Amex decides to give me a black card, I'll be very happy. I feel like I've reached the attained, but I don't really need it. I think so many people like I know like people I know are doctors, and they're always like saying, doctors, everyone thinks, oh, they make a lot of money. But you know what? They do make a lot of money, but they spend a lot of money, and they literally live paycheck to paycheck. I have a friend who's a banker who tells me all the time, like he's a simple guy, the simplest guy, but has millions of dollars in the bank, millions of dollars. He literally doesn't, he wears flip-flops, he goes on vacation, he's not overly excessive. He's just like your run-of-the-mill, very ordinary type of guy. He told me like with his banking, he does like high-profile clients, his doctors, attorneys, Wall Street, they can't afford to not have a paycheck, and they're
Wow.
making well into 6, 7 figures, like top 6 figures, low to mid 7 figures, and they live paycheck to paycheck. And that's sad because the
Very
more
much.
you make, people don't understand. Like my mom always was telling me, like, whenever, if you're getting a salary increase, don't spend it. Put it away. Put like, so if your increase is $200 additional on the paycheck, pretend you didn't get it and put that away. So that's kind of like how what I've done in kind of my older age, not my younger age. My younger age I like spent like crazy.
I feel like we've all had that like, phase of life where we're young and you get let's say a new credit card and you're just like, "Oh, okay, swipe here, swipe there." Maybe not realizing the consequences of like, "Hey, you have to pay that back plus interest." I know I
Right.
went through like a phase like that when I was younger, but lessons learned now.
Yes. Hmm.
So I guess in that sense, how like what would our advice be to some of our callers that are experiencing that like paycheck to paycheck lifestyle right now with the economy being what it is right now? I feel like inflation is at its all-time high. Um, you know, rent is really expensive, to buy a house is really expensive, to buy groceries is really expensive. So what can our callers do to kind of help get them out of that cycle of living paycheck to paycheck? Because it's not a good place to be. I feel like mentally, let alone financially, but mentally as well.
I
Right.
agree. I can only imagine like having a family and like you're not sure, like God forbid something happens, like you're not okay for the next, like for your next rent or something like that. I would say for people who are experiencing that, which is a lot of people, right? Look for the corners where you're spending money and you're not really realizing it. Automatic subscriptions is one of them. Like the subscriptions increase and they just keep charging you. You don't realize like how many you have lingering out there. YouTube, Spotify, like Amazon, their membership, like all the other stuff that adds up, Netflix, Hulu. Before you know it, you're spending like maybe sometimes up to $200 a month that you could be like lessening, maybe just use a sub take the subscriptions you use the most because that's
Right.
what's going to give you the most like I guess return for you, but just be mindful of that. Be mindful of what's coming out of your paycheck because you don't want to be in a position where something happens and then you have nothing to fall back on. So, also
Mhm.
start with an emergency fund too. Start
Mhm.
putting aside a little
Mhm.
bit of money. God forbid something happens, you have a little bit of a cushion. It doesn't have to be a lot of money. Start with like $50. So like, if something does happen with the paycheck and like there's an issue or something, you still have a little something to tide you over until you get your check.
Right. Right. I bought Shawnee, I don't know if this is helpful, but for Christmas, I bought my daughter and my dad the box, the savings box where you can save like 1,000, five
Yeah.
thousand, 10,000. So I bought the $10,000 one. I'm telling you, I started in January. It's just little, like you said, the little dollar, like
Yeah.
$20, $10. I'm not like I'm close to halfway, but I'm like, there's so much money in this box. It's crazy. And I don't feel like it's really taking from me. So I want to see how long it's going to take me. So that could potentially be your savings. I think
Yeah.
also if you're in debt, you want to pay off like your lowest balance first and then work through. And then so if you have three credit cards and your first credit card is $200, pay off that one first, and whatever you were spending on paying off credit card number one, put it towards paying off credit card number two, in addition to what you were already paying. You know what I mean? Just
Yes.
helping yourself pay off those debts because you want to get your credit score up, because you don't want to have your credit score, below like what's, I don't know, I don't know what's the low credit score, 650, 600, I don't know.
Yeah, I think anything below like 650 is pretty.
It's low. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know
So
what, I know it's like categorized into like, I think like really
right.
like good and then average and then
Right.
below
And I think this
average.
is something that I wish this and parenting should be taught in schools,
I agree.
in high schools, college. We teach so much money goes into this. And we don't teach kids, even in high school. I see a lot of financial courses for young people now, like on Instagram. I've never enrolled my daughter. I have a 15-year-old daughter, so I've never like enrolled her into any of them, but I never had a financial course, like how to use a credit card, what is interest rates, what is a credit card, like how to use a credit card. We don't teach our kids that. And I think now we should, because the next generation, they need to know. So
Yeah.
that's a big deal. I'm a big advocate for teaching like young people how to spend and what not to spend and how to budget.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I think coming out of I think back at younger Shawnee and she got her first credit card and it's just like woohoo, party over here, party over there. We're gonna eat here, we're gonna do this.
Drinks for everybody.
Yeah, and it's just like you don't know because you're young.
Johnny, you were at the club doing this. You were doing that.
I was not at the club doing that.
Yeah.
I didn't even go to clubs. What are you talking about? But I mean, like, I feel like, yes, Kenise, I feel like that's really important. If we do have a younger audience tuning in, it may not seem like a big deal right now, but your financial literacy, the younger you
Right.
start, the earlier of a start that you can get, the better that you're going to set
Yes.
up yourself for your future so that you don't need to be approaching, your 30s or even in like your mid 20s and working really hard to pay off debt that didn't have to be, so
Right. Right.
I think I think that's really good advice, especially with your credit score. So just be careful with that.
Yeah.
Also, like to the parents, I think it's okay to be transparent with your kids about money. Don't hide it. Like I didn't know that was a thing until like, you grow up and you hear other people's like upbringing. Money was never something that was hidden from me. Like I knew when things were great. I knew when things were like in crunch time that we're saving for something. And maybe that's why I have the relationship I have with money today. Like I'm automatically like my brain tallies things, and that's just like, like when we're like if we're out of dinner, like I almost like try to like do it as a game with myself, like let's see if I can get this right, like how much a bill would be, like that's just for me, but it's not in an unhealthy way, like I don't want to spend it, but it's to be conscious of it. So I would just say, like, parents, it's okay to have your kids in on like, hey, we want to go on vacation to Disneyland, this is how we're going to do it as a team, because we need everybody's support in it. um because I've seen people where their parents did not tell them what was
Right.
going on, and they had no idea that, things were that difficult in the household. And I don't think that's because then the kids don't get to support the parents either. I feel like
Right.
you need your kids' support, like if things are difficult. So I think being transparent just helps with that.
Or even not pretending it's like a hard time, even though it's not. I feel like
Well,
you
you
guys
ever
could be so well off, but you need to let your child know from time to time, yes, we are on a budget, especially if your child, I feel like this generation is so different right now, like the younger kids growing up, because there's so many things out there, like new devices and technology, and all these things
Yeah.
cost money. And I feel like kids now, they're used to vacations. I don't know. I feel like that's just the generation right now.
You're right, Shawnee. It's very different than how when we were little.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a nephew and he wants to eat sushi, and I'm just like,
Excuse me.
he's 9. I'm like, what? When I would be at your age begging my mom for a Happy Meal, and like she would turn around and tell me we have food at home. So
Yeah.
that was me, but here
Right.
you are asking for sushi. So I feel like this generation of younger kids really do need to have like that financial awareness
Yeah.
from an early age. And what my sister started implementing, and I don't know if parents, if you're listening, this, I don't know if this is going to be helpful for you. Anytime he asked for something that was, a significant amount of money, she
Mhm.
would assign him chores in the house to do. So like, okay, this is how much money you would get for like sweeping, and this is how much money you would get for tidying up your room. And like she broke it down that way. So if he really wanted something, he would eventually he gave her a little pushback, but eventually he was like, okay, mom, so like what else do we need to do around the house? Okay,
Right.
let me know. Like, because he knows, so it's like setting up his mindset from an
Right.
early age that, you not everything is a handout. You have to work for
Correct.
what you want. And I feel like that's such a good thing to implement at a young age for a child.
There's a credit card that I had gotten when my daughter was like your nephew's age. So you put money on it. It's like a debit card, has their photo on it as well.
How
So
cute.
yeah, it was very cute. She still has it in her wallet. So I gotten it for her, and it actually tracks. So you can have like, she didn't have her phone, she didn't have a phone back then because she was younger. So you would track, so you give them an allowance, and then every time they do chores, you're able to put, okay, $5 for washing the dishes, $5 for taking your laundry, whatever. So she would be able to see that. And now she's on like the Chase. Like when she turned 14, like from 14, Chase allows you to have like a student account. So
Yeah.
now she's able to see, she gets an allowance every month. She gets a monthly allowance. She reminds me of her allowance. She gives. I mean, I've taught her to give to like our church. I've taught her to give to other people, not only like to buy her stuff, but also like be able to track her money. Like she had an expense today, I think from apple.com. She was like, yeah, I don't know, some kind of premium thing for Spotify. She was all over. She was like, I don't know what this is, but it took $10 out of my credit card. I don't know what this is, mom. We need to really relate. So that's good.
Yeah.
I feel like that's important for her to be aware of how she's spending her money. If somebody's trying to steal her money, Spotify. And so I can let you know the name of that credit card for your nephew. I think he would really like that. And then they use the cute little credit card. You want, let them go up and Five Below,
Aw,
like go up at the cash register. Go. You pay with your $20 on your card. It's so cute to watch
it's
them.
so cute. Oh my
That
God.
would be
Really
so
cute.
cute. I remember right now we're trying to teach him money, like, so we're giving him actual like cash money to like, okay, how much change do you get back, and all of that. So it'd be, but I think that's such a cute idea if you
Yeah.
have a younger one at home to get them their
Yes.
own little debit card and start it. So the
Yeah.
earlier you start, the better you're setting them up for
Right.
financial success.
Yeah.
Um, and then with that being said, do we have any, I guess because we live in the modern age, are there any apps that we're using right now to
Mm.
help us? Amanda, I know you said you're tracking everything, a little bit
Yeah.
more thoroughly these days. So is there anything specific that you're using?
Well, for myself, I've tried one app, but I always resort back to my trendy little Excel file because it's so easy for me. But there are a lot of apps. The Ramsey Every Dollar app is the one that I tried. There's like a free version of it, but also there's like a premium one where it does more stuff where you connect your accounts, but you don't even have to connect your accounts. You just fill in like what you're spending your money on, and then it kind of
Mhm.
like breaks it down and makes you really sad when you see how much money you're spending. And I just have here on my phone some of the other ones that we had researched. Monarch, Quicken, Origin, YNAB. I've never heard of that one. But like there's lots of them out there. It's just, picking something that works for you and that you find easy. Um, and just self-awareness. I think it starts there. And then the second part of that, when you're aware, then you can just do better and teach the other generation how to be like aware of their money, their spending.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should try one of these apps so we can like report to you guys back. Like, I would like to try one of the apps because I use an Excel spreadsheet as well. But I also feel like for me, I think it's not just about paying off your debts or like trying to afford a house or trying to afford a vacation or trying to afford to eat out. For me, like over the years, I've always like used like the term like building wealth. So
Yeah.
generational wealth.
Yes.
So there's a proverb that says like a good mother or father leaves an inheritance for their children's children. So this is just not remembering whatever age you guys are watching us right now or wherever status you are in life. I feel like you need to start thinking about what that next generation, if you're planning on having children or have children, but then what are you helping to set up for their children? So I think that's something that you want to pause and think about. If you're just not about living paycheck to paycheck, starting your emergency fund, paying off your credit cards now and barely making it, how can you build wealth? And you should listen to our last podcast where we talked about side hustles and things like that. So you can start because every dollar does count. You
Yes.
know, it may not be a $5,000 check that you're getting from a side hustle immediately, but over time, over a year or something like that, you could build your podcast, you could build your little Amazon business, you can do your foot fetish pics on like whatever Happy Feet
Happy
website.
feet.
You can do whatever you want. So I just want to say, like, I loved a healthy relationship with money, but I also feel like building wealth as you age, whether you're 25, 35, 45, 55, 65, just building wealth for your generation and your future generations.
Yeah. And I really great point, Kenise. I want to piggyback off that. For any listener that is going through maybe financial hardships right now, it's never too late to get yourself back on track. I think that's the most important. If I had to give you my last takeaways from today's episode, it's never too late. Don't think that you are of a certain age or don't compare yourself to other people as well. You may be around, you have friends that might be in a better financial situation than you. And, that's perfectly fine, great for them, but that doesn't mean that you're not able to build yourself up as well. And I think a lot of people, especially when it comes to finances, it's such a sensitive topic because to be honest, you know, money does make, unfortunately, this materialistic world go round, and you need money in order to do a lot of things, in order to accomplish a lot of things in life. But I feel like if you're able to start with your mindset and
Mhm.
really, manifest like, okay, by the end of the year, I'm gonna have X amount, saved up, or I'm gonna be in this position, or whatever the case is. I think it really does start with your mind,
Mhm.
and not to give up. It's never too late to
Yeah,
turn things around if you're in
for
a,
sure.
a hard place.
And just look for things you can start doing right away. And like it's
Yep.
gonna be hard,
Mhm.
of course, in the beginning, but you can do it. It doesn't turn around overnight, but like small little habits add up, and then before you know it, it's like, wow, I've actually been able to put aside like $500. Like, how did I even do that? It's because like you're being mindful, you're training your mind to think a certain way. Um, and to Kinesis' point about building generational wealth, I feel like there's a lot of things out there that we can do that like in my culture, like we didn't really talk much about like stock markets and stuff like that. You don't need a lot of money to even invest in the stock market. Look at your job. Do they have a 401k and do they have a match? Oh, great. Make sure you're at least, meeting the match so you can get that like that full money. That's all money you can get in different areas. A high yield savings account. So that $500 with like a 3.5 interest rate will grow a lot quicker. So just, educating yourself, like to Shawnee's point at the beginning, financial literacy, very important. So if you just look at all the tools that we have um, available to us, we can do it. It's just
Yes.
that we have to want to do it. And don't compare. Also, like Shawnee mentioned, don't compare because but you don't also know how those people are affording what they're doing. A lot of
Right.
people rack up credit cards to paint a certain picture
Hmm.
that they're living a certain way, and then that's not what we want. We want to be able to like if we want to buy something, it's fine to put in your credit card, but you already have a plan of paying that.
Right.
So just kind of like put your head down, stick to your path, and I believe it's completely possible.
Yeah. And like final point for me, I'm going to steal from Amanda. Just have grow, build, enhance a healthy relationship with money.
All
Awesome.
right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for this installment and final installment of our April Wellness series.
Finally, I feel so well. I feel so whole. Feel so much better.
Yeah, guys, stick around for our next episode because we're gonna be recapping all of what we've personally done
Mhm.
for the month of April. Don't think that we were just dishing out advice and not implementing things for ourselves. We actually did um we took our own advice, so we have a recap and review of how that went for us in our next episode.
And Shani, are we going to have our guest come back?
Yeah, so apparently, so I was checking our emails recently, and a lot of you guys wrote in and you said that you wanted to hear from our caller, Vanessa.
Yeah.
So stick around for our next episode. She may be back, she may not be back. We might have an update. I don't know, who
Okay.
knows? But you have to come
Okay.
back and tune in next week.
All right.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for
Thanks,
joining us.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.